Hello, my darlings. We are going to be talking about hospitality today. If you guys will remember, this is one of the three unbreakable rules in ancient Greek culture. So, let's talk first about the requirements for hospitality if you are a host. Number one, you always offer your food and drink to your guest, and it's offered freely. You don't make them feel bad. You don't make them feel like they're eating too much or you don't have enough. You give it to them. Number two, always with hospitality, the promise of protection is always extended. We're going to see this very, very clearly in Book 15, the next book you're going to read next week, where Telemachus, Odysseus' son, offers Theoclymenus his hospitality on the boat. And here's a really good example when Theoclymenus is running up the beach to catch Telemachus, and he's saying, I'm sorry for being so blunt about this, but I've just killed this guy and his friends are after me, please help. And Telemachus, being the very good host that he is, says, why, yes, of course. Come along. Come aboard my ship and I will give you my protection. Many times in hospitality, gifts will be exchanged. A lot of times it's the host who offers a gift to the guest, but as we'll see a little bit later on, this can also be an exchange thing. If you remember back in Book 4, when Telemachus is going and visiting Menelaus for information about his dad, Menelaus offers Telemachus this amazingly exquisite bowl that Hephaestus made. And the thing about gifts in ancient Greek is that the beauty and the craftsmanship of the gift that is given is often a direct correlation to how much the host thinks of you. All right. So, as the host, the next thing that they are responsible for is entertainment. Woohoo! This may be in the form of games. If you think back to Book 8, when Odysseus is visiting King Alcinous, or it could be music or dancing or storytelling. And occasionally, if you have this very high and mighty person that you know is planning a visit, there could even be a dramatical presentation that is shown that might be representative of all of the great deeds that the guest of honor has done. See, theaters everywhere, everywhere, everywhere. You want to make sure, also as the host, that you are providing to your guests as much as you are able. Now, this does not mean that it is expected of you that you give until you have nothing left to give. This is not a locust mentality where we allow guests to come in and eat everything up and buzz off somewhere to the next host who will take them. It's not like that. But you provide as much as you are able to provide, and you do it willingly. Basically, the bottom line here is that you want to make sure that as a host, you are giving your guests as much as you are able to give without putting yourself in jeopardy. We see this especially. Now, the thing about Eumaeus, and I'm bringing Eumaeus up because he's in there for a reason. Not just because he is an awesome person and he has been loyal to Odysseus throughout this entire epic story, but because he is an example of what good hospitality is. He doesn't have a lot, but whatever he has, he gives it to Odysseus. Maybe he's only got some cheese and a little bit of bread and maybe some wine. but he gives it to him freely. He doesn't know that this is Odysseus. He doesn't know. He thinks this is some beggar that has come to ask for help. That's okay. I will give you what I have. Okay, let us move forward and talk about what is expected of the guest. As a guest, you should not expect anything but accept and appreciate everything that is offered to you. I can't stand liver and onions, but dadgummit, in ancient Greece, if I was to go and I was to sit at somebody's table and they set liver and onions in front of me, I will praise the cook for their wonderful cooking. I will compliment my host on how magnificent his larder is and say a great big huge thank you and wolf down as much as I can and do my very best not to throw up. That's a side note. Okay, number 2. Just as protection is offered to me as a guest, I should return the compliment by doing no harm to my host. Now, this comes in the form of making certain that I'm not going out into the community where my host lives and causing trouble, or being an issue inside the household. You do not want to put yourself in a position where your host has to defend you. It is your responsibility to be on your best behavior because you are somebody else's guest in their space and are there in a capacity that should warrant you being on your best behavior. Whatever you do, do not murder your host like Orestes did, or the Furies will be after you. Bad juju, people. All right, let's talk about number 3. We touched on this briefly already, but let's go back and do it again. Gifts may come from either direction. For a guest, this could be in the form of food and wine being offered to help supplement the food and wine that are coming out to feed you. It could be that as a guest, I offer some of my livestock to you. As a guest, I may offer my service to you. Maybe I'm a warrior or a gladiator or a storyteller, whatever it is. I might offer that service. It could come in the form of material gifts like clothing or golden jewels. Maybe I've got a slave. I feel that you are worthy to take off my hands. In the case of Odysseus, when he comes and he sits down with Eumaeus, he doesn't have anything to offer. He's presenting himself as a beggar, as a wandering beggar. And so he's got nothing to give to Eumaeus except this amazing ability to tell stories, and that's what he does, as if they were from his own perspective, so that Eumaeus thinks that he's this old warrior that has fallen on hard times. But this becomes the entertainment for the evening. Odysseus telling Eumaeus stories. So this is a gift that he gives. As a guest in somebody else's house, whatever entertainment is offered, again, needs to be appreciated. I'm not a great fan. I mean, I enjoy it now, but as a teenager, I did not enjoy opera very much. But when I went to visit my great aunt, she took me to an opera. I sat through 4 hours of with a glazed look on my face, and at the end, I said, thank you. Same thing goes here. Whatever entertainment is offered, even if it's not your cup of tea, that is your responsibility as a guest to be appreciative of it. Last and final thing, do not strain your host's resources. You know if you are expecting too much from your host. You know that. So stay for a little while and then be on your way. Don't overstay your welcome. The bottom line here, my darlings, is be a gracious guest. Just, again, like Odysseus, we are using this Uh, Homer uses this as an example of what is appropriate as a guest. Odysseus stays for one night. It's very clear, that Eumaeus doesn't have a lot. So he doesn't put a strain on this man's larder. He doesn't put a strain on, on him as a person. It's quite possible that Eumaeus may have given up his bed. Well, and that's fine. For one night, as a poor person, it's totally fine. We will give up what we have for a night. But as a poor member of a household, you still have to get up and work the next morning, and you don't want to expect too much from your host.